See, this is why I was so well documented in all of my notes and my analysis this past week. Because I had a feeling the strategic karma would come for Tiffany and Hannah the hardest. These two were trying to hedge. They was trying to be selfish this week. They was trying to have the best of both worlds, have their cake and eat it too, by having DX, having Claire on one side, and then having these black men on the other, and then having the black men target Claire and DX, have Claire and DX target these black men. They thought they were so smooth with it. They thought they was playing so cute. But see, this is the problem. When you put too much hot sauce on the chicken, you get exposed at any cookout. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the critically acclaimed. Oh, I'm gonna love this rant. The Pop the Trunk podcast, now Patreon exclusively sponsored Hall of Fame. Recency bias radio, where no one is safe from criticism. With me, of course, is your humble host, Dave Smith, Pretty Boy Smitty, Protocol Paul, Pearl Game Ultra, Smid Dog Trio, The Rant God, Hotep Thanos, Throne Thanos, Metro Kaiba, the Pro Black Prodigy, the Shadow Realm Shaman, the Pronoun Punisher, the No Sleep Assassin, here to bring balance back to Big Brother US, Season 23, all of the above on that ISAT test, and ACT, you know what it is! All the Infinity Stones are glowing tonight, Coach. We're here for the 24th BB23 Rant, entitled Cut from a Different Cloth, ladies and gentlemen. And woo! See, you gotta be careful about the black men you bash all the time. Because there's gonna come a time where you're gonna need these brothers, but you ain't really done much for them to need you. See, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna talk about it tonight. Understand, Ozza and Big D might be masterminds, Coach. They might be masterminds. Because them running up in that HOH room deaded the Christian flip, which would have kept Christian over SB. So make no mistake about it here. If Ozza and Big D don't do that, they don't lose Brittany in a way where it doesn't hurt their game. And they also aren't put in this great position now where SB can be sicked on pretty much DX and Claire right now. In my opinion, that's what's the most likely scenario. Now, here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. In all likelihood, do not be shocked if SB's initial noms are Big D and Hannah. Because I heard her overfeed saying maybe the only way to get Hannah out is if she's on the block next to Big D. She believes that, ladies and gentlemen. So, from her vantage point, she might want Hannah out. But in my opinion, Kylan is going to convince her DX needs to go. See, Kylan couldn't be the one to take DX out. He couldn't. And I was under the impression only Xavier could be the one to do it because I didn't expect SB to clutch folks like this tonight. SB went to work tonight. She knew her game was on the line. And I'm pretty sure during lockdown, Kylan told her, hey, this is make or break for you tonight. You know you need this HOH. You better go out there and get it. Did you see the way she moved around that balance beam? Jeez. You know, you make me want to call her Sarah Beth Biles. You feel a dig me, Coach? Oh, yeah, that came off the dome. That was not prepared, Coach. But understand, ladies and gentlemen, Tiffany and Hannah put themselves in this position. I feel no sympathy for them. And because their fan base went so crazy over Operation Save Becky a week ago, I really don't feel bad for them. Because at the end of the day, say whatever you want to say. If they would have let Claire get taken out, then I personally believe SB could have been talked into getting rid of Brittany because Brittany goes after Kylan every time. You know? But because there is no Brittany, SB really, her options are limited. In my opinion, SB is going to point towards the Hannah, Tiffany, DX, and Claire Quattro every time. And it's because those four have not been incognito about their gameplay. All they want to do is hang out in the bathroom 24/7 and talk game. All they want to do is whisper sweet nothings to each other all day. You know, on tonight's edit, it was almost as if production was trying to vilify this Cookout Alliance and trying to create the narrative that they're somehow the villains of this season and anyone who isn't black is the babyface. But here's why y'all messed up, production. Any other season where a predominantly white alliance is in control, y'all never vilify them. JC said the N-word. Y'all love level 6. So much so, you make players watch season 20 before they come in the house. So at the end of the day, I look at this from the perspective of, hey, just because these people are dominant, don't vilify them now. This ain't no different from any other season where alliance dominates. It's no different. Of course, there's more color on the screen, but that's why a lot of black fans did not like the edit tonight. I would highly recommend y'all stay away from what y'all tried to convey tonight. No, you got Brittany, WGCT, white girl crying technique every 2 seconds. They're picking on me. I remember when David Alexander was thrown up several times during BB22. I never saw him cry this much. You know what I'm saying? And he was someone who could cry on demand. You feel it, dig me? David Alexander understood, hey, it comes with the territory. And in his mind, he probably knew I didn't even earn the right to be an all-star, so I'm just happy to get this check. You feel what I'm saying? So no shade towards him. But my point is, ladies and gentlemen, Hannah and Tiffany did so much hedging over the past week. Tonight's episode, they tried so hard to make it seem like, oh, I'm willing to get rid of Claire and DX anytime soon. But on feeds, ladies and gentlemen, they do not reflect that same narrative. On feeds, last night, Tiffany is going off on Big D. One night before Big D's is almost up for eviction, you choose that night to go off on that man. You choose the night before an eviction to start shouting in the storage room at a black man? First of all, if roles were reversed, Tiffany wouldn't be that loud. We know that. And that's why Big D couldn't match her energy because he was on the block. That wasn't even a fair fight. We got Tiffany fans acting like, she put him in his place, girl. No, she didn't. She did what a lot of people do. She bullies the person she believes she can pick on in the moment. Well, now SB's HOH. Now shout, Tiffany. You ain't gonna do it now, is you? Dog, I saw Tiffany at the end of this episode where SB was HOH and she was with Kylan. Tiffany was putting her hair around like a bun or something. She looked salty as hell, coach. And she should be salty. But at the end of the day, coach, you didn't let Christian make this jury. You kept trying to make it seem like Brittany was the swing. Tiffany, at any moment, you cannot prop yourself up to be this social mastermind and then act like, oh, because of Brittany, we couldn't keep Christian. You could have kept him. You, Big D, and Claire could have kept him. Y'all could have kept him. And Big D already promised Christian the vote. So y'all could have kept him. But at the end of the day, Tiffany did not want to humble herself to come to Big D correct, to have him work with her to keep Christian, because she wanted Christian to stay and hate jokers. You see that? The only joker Tiffany wanted to still be on good terms with Christian after he would have stayed if the flip worked would have been Brittany, because Tiffany can control her. She can't control Big D and Ozza. So understand, when I see Tiffany going off on Big D last night over, oh, y'all ran up in that HOH room like we was in the streets or something, like y'all was trying to jump me or something. Man, I'm just hearing nothing but victim noises. Because from my perspective, Tiffany, let's keep it a bean here. That comp tonight, 3 hours ago on feed, she telling everyone, talking to cams, oh, I got to win this HOH tonight. If someone not in Cookout wins it, I could be in trouble. I can't go. All right, it's time for you to step up. Prove yourself to be as good as your fans say you are. Once again, you choke. And see, Xavier, he had every reason to win this HOH. But when he saw DX fail and not take over the winner circle over SB, Xavier threw that dang thing. And he should have thrown that dang thing. Because in my opinion, if Xavier would have swung and missed DX this week, then he would have just been backdoored next week. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, make no mistake about it, SB winning this HOH is best case scenario for every black man in this house. And because some black women, let me be specific, some black women, not all black women, decided to save Becky for the best interest of 2 out of the 6, then black men have every right to celebrate SB's win, because this helps the other 4 of the 6. So from my perspective, I'd rather an HOH that benefits the majority of Cookout than an HOH that doesn't benefit the majority. DX and Clear winning HOH would have benefited the minority of Cookout. See, I'm about the group. I'm not about just one player. I'm not about just 2 players. I'm about the 6. Last week exposed a lot of people's agenda. They're not about the 6. They're just about seeing a black woman win that's not Ozza. That's what it is. So because you all created this territory, you all created this type of terrain, now you got to live with the terrain you created for yourself. Because we're not fighting for y'all right now, because at the end of the day, y'all were willing to cut us to the wolves. Y'all was willing to see a Final Four that didn't include no black man in it. So yeah, I'm going to celebrate the fact that every black man can kick their feet up and chill out this week. Now, Big D could touch the block. But I think Xavier is fully safe. I don't think Kylan or SB take that shot, because right now SB is under the assumption that Xavier is protecting Alyssa, and SB needs Alyssa, and she needs Xavier. So Xavier, the best player in the house, is safe. That's something we're celebrating as well, ladies and gentlemen. No matter how you look at this, coach, the only people mad about SB winning are the same people who wanted to save Claire so bad a week ago. Those are the only ones mad about this. You feel me? Honestly, I think it's refreshing that a woman won HOH. Weren't women saying they were tired of men winning everything? Now we get a woman winning something, and now they're mad about that. So this isn't the right white woman you want to win something, huh? Oh, because she's capable of pulling a black man. Oh, yeah, I get you. You see what I'm saying? Come on, coach. Huh? Claire is 6'2". She's just a 6'2" SB. Her feet were too big to win this balance beam comp. That's the truth of it all. In my opinion, this comp was designed for a woman to become the first woman HOH because the balance beam was so narrow. Now, DX almost pulled off an improbable feat because he fell off and still almost made it there before the 21-second deadline. I'm like, y'all gotta get this guy out. What was that? He failed and still almost beat SB's record. And SB was like, she was super quick like Sonic the Hedgehog the whole time. How the heck could DX make up for that and he fell off? He gotta go, bruh. And I'm a fan of DX, but I'm more of a fan of the 6. DX, you're an all-star. I think if you play again, you might have a chance to win because there won't be no predominantly black alliance that time. But at the end of the day, DX, you should also understand you benefited as well from the shield known as the cookout too. I mean, they protected you, they coddled you, they made sure every white dude was sent home before you. So there's an argument to be had here that DX benefited from the cookout just as much as the cookout benefited from DX. So that needs to be stated as well. But ladies and gentlemen, let's get to breaking down this episode. I love it. This is why we love this game. Because at any moment, the strategic karma can come for someone. It can come for them, you know? And over the past week, I was so frustrated. Ladies and gentlemen, last night, I gave patrons a crazy. I haven't done a scorched earth rant in a long time. I highly recommend y'all join RBR because that one's not coming public. That 7 reasons, that was PG enough. All right, the one from last night, oh no. And then when you take into context that SB becomes the next HOH, so technically Kylan had a huge whiff of an HOH week. Let's keep it real. He choked. Even though I blame Tiffany and Hannah mostly for the fact that Claire was saved, Kylan still made the decision. As a grown-ass man, I must hold him accountable. But now that SB has double-tapped with Kylan, she almost let him off the hook for the choke entirely, because now she can get out the person Kylan should have. You know? So, I guess Tiffany and Hannah fans will use this to justify why they were anti-black men the past week by saying, see, this is why we was kind of concerned about Kai's relationship with SB, and this is why we didn't want him to win the HOH. Well, he threw it to Tiffany and she choked that, which would have been SB leaving before she could win this HOH. No matter how you shake it, this is Tiffany's fault. We need to play the accountability game tonight. When it comes to the sisters, we do not hold them accountable enough. We dance around it, but hey, if you're going to get the credit when things go well, you got to get the blame when they go wrong. And let's keep it real in these streets. Tiffany, she was the main shot caller on the majority of the decisions ever since Christian left. So SB winning this HOH and taking out any ally of Tiffany's is Tiffany's fault. And also, ladies and gentlemen, did you watch tonight's episode? Did you pay attention to Brittany? She's talking to Julie. Of course, Brittany is mad with Kai, but she said she was bitter towards Claire and Tiffany, believing it was best for their games to keep her, and they didn't. So, Tiffany, you may have lost Brittany's vote when you would have had Claire's vote if you would have just let Kai get her out. Like, hey, man, Tiffany blowing the 3-1 lead on her own. The cookout ain't doing it now. I mean, hey, these black men, they playing flawless right now. Hey, let's keep it a bean right now. And see, for all of the public who aren't privy to some of the information I shared with patrons last night, Azza and Big D now have a final 3 with Xavier. Xavier now has a final 3 with every member of the cookout. Xavier is so insulated in every direction, and it's got a lot of fans salty about it. But it's not Xavier's fault that Tiffany burned bridges with jokers throughout the game by being petty and emotional. It's not Xavier's fault that Kylan burned bridges with jokers by being petty and emotional. And let's keep it real. Another reason why Xavier and jokers work so easily together is because all 3 of them had to make their sacrifice for their +1 before anyone else among the 6. So they have that in common. So in a sense, misery loves company, and they feel like they're being used by the other 3 who haven't let their +1 go. So understand here, Tiffany, Hannah, and Kylan created the terrain where Ozza, Big D, and Xavier had to pivot together. And Xavier also was working with SB, Kylan, and Alyssa. This man is a genius. And he ain't buck breaking himself. That's a plus. That's extra credit, bro. That's extra credit. Xavier is an example that you ain't got to be playing both sides 24/7. You can just be yourself. And see, I see people on the live feeds comment section saying, Xavier's so boring. That tells me he's playing a great game then. You don't get rewarded 500 grand, well this time 750 grand just because you're entertaining. The jury don't see the entertaining part. They remember how you treated them. Did you see Xavier's goodbye message to Brittany tonight? He said, "Oh, you're a ball of sunshine. You know, I don't want to have to see you until finale night, but if I do see you before then, we're going to be up to tons of mischief when we're in that jury house." He played to Brittany's personality perfectly. Meanwhile, Tiffany didn't even get a goodbye message tonight, but Claire got one. So you see, production prefers Claire winning over Tiffany. So imagine being a Tiffany and Hannah fan, caping so hard for Claire, when at the end of the day, production don't even want either one of them winning over her. I tried to tell y'all. I tried. People did not want to listen to me, yo. They did not. They got in their feelings and said, no, let Brittany go. I don't want the Jokers to have 3 people. You know, as if Ozzy and Big D were expected to win a whole bunch of comps and keep Brittany safe for long. They weren't. Also, like I mentioned previously, Tiffany could have used Brittany similar to how she was using Claire, but at least Brittany had more money, which she could have weaponized with the roulette. Especially during this SB HOH week. Tiffany really could have used some of that money. It's going to be very hard for Tiffany to convince DX to use his money this week, because DX might not believe SB is after him because he cut a deal with SB to get out Christian, remember? DX might feel blindsided if he's backdoored by SB. This is why this might be the perfect scenario. Last night, I'm thinking Alyssa as HOH might be perfect. But now, SB winning it is actually better because it's connected to Kylan the move. If Alyssa would have went after DX, then Xavier would have took some blowback, took some residual damage from Tiffany and Hannah and Claire. Now, Kylan just continues to be the bad guy, and Xavier continues to be the good guy. I love this game. I love it, coach. I love it. Now, Brittany thought she knew the black experience because she likes to spit struggle bars. But now she really knows the black experience within the BB house by hitting that block 4 times in 6 weeks. Damn. Woo. Hey, coach. Hey, you wanted to culturally appropriate? Well, now you really can get a first-hand experience of the culture. How about that? Now, Hannah and Tiffany are trying super hard to fool fans into thinking they aren't off code. Tiffany said they may have to get rid of Claire and DX sooner than later, but she has done nothing on feeds to reflect this confessional. She said Big D is going nowhere, but went out of her way to fight with him last night, and we'll get into that in the notes portion later on in this rant. Oh, I'm going to document why Tiffany and Hannah are full of crap, okay? What we saw in the edit tonight is not the game they're playing on feeds, coach, okay? Any black man will confirm what I'm saying is true. I think some black women will confirm what I'm saying is true, because what I'm seeing is a lot of real pro-black sisters are on Ozza's side. They ain't on Tiffany and Hannah's side now. They see what's going on. They see it. And also, sisters are peeping game. Claire is jealous of Hannah because Hannah is closer to DX and Tiffany from Claire's vantage point than she is. So now Claire is basically a 6'2" SB. It all comes home full circle. All right? So yes, Tiffany said they may have to get rid of Claire and DX sooner than later, but this doesn't reflect it in the confessional. She said Big D is going nowhere. This tells me, oh, my fault. She says Big D is going nowhere, but went out of her way to fight with him last night. This lets me know Hannah and Tiffany are trying to carefully craft their narrative to make it seem like they haven't already flipped on the cookout. But they have started to flip. Tiffany celebrated in Brittany's face when Claire came off that block last week. That's something that they didn't really show during tonight's episode. When Brittany came off that, well, when Claire came off the block, when Kylan used the veto on Claire, and once that veto ceremony was over, feeds came back. Tiffany was visibly laughing with Claire in front of Brittany's face. Brittany saw it. So understand, one of the reasons why Brittany is so bitter is because she knows Tiffany played a role in her back door. Tiffany, you playing too messy, but you think you Palpatine, right? You think you a Sith Lord. You think you a Jedi Master, but you really not. Cause the stuff that you try to pull off on people, if you really break it down, Tiffany's game does not work on anyone that identifies solely as black. Her game only works on people who don't identify only as black. Think about it. Ozza, Xavier, Big D. All of them don't identify as anything else but black, and they can read Tiffany easily, and they can't be fooled by her. Isn't that a flaw in her game? Why are the people why are the people who are from the same type of ends you're from? Shout out to my people from the UK. That's what they say, the ends. They call the streets the road too. But if these people are from the same ends you are from, that can probably relate to you a lot more than Hannah can outside of this house. Why is it your game can't work on them as easily? Because they can see you're shiesty. Because they've been around shiesty people their whole life in the hood. I'm trying to get y'all to see this. See, we could continue with the notes, but my point is going to be driven home once we get to the notes portion, okay, of the feeds. Now, DX isn't buying what Xavier and Kylan are selling at all because he used finger quotations to explain what they said to him. Xavier, and I'm going to break this down in the notes as well. Well, actually, no, this was from Wednesday morning when this happened, so I already broke that down yesterday for patrons, technically. So at the end of the day, I thought Kylan was playing X a little bit during this conversation. Um, but Kylan legitimately, well, we could get to it here. Xavier even said if DX throws this HOH to him, he will be sealing his fate in this game. Then we see anti-black Claire telling DX that means you're getting backdoored. How would Claire know this? She wasn't even there for the conversation. This just further shows why Claire should have left this week. If she was gone, DX would need a deal like that with the black men a lot more, wouldn't he? See? By Claire being here, DX has other options, so he don't need the deals that are being offered to him. Okay? Now, kudos to DX. It's good to see that he can't be fooled that easily. I wouldn't want DX to go out that easily. But with that said, DX, wouldn't that be so anticlimactic if SB got you out, bro? You did all of that. You took out Christian, who would have been your shield in this game. Now, to be fair, I don't think SB ever goes for Christian over DX. To be fair there, let's be honest. But we cannot deny that the events that transpired after Christian was taken out did not help DX's game much. Brittany leaving did not help DX's game. Now with SB as HOH, the whole house plan to throw up Kai next to SB is now filibustered. Okay? So now everyone has to pivot and act like that wasn't the plan. But the black men, they can just play it off. See, Big D was on the block. You feel me? He can act like he wasn't privy to nothing. Ozza, she's just so sad to lose her girl Brittany. No one will go after her this week. Come on now. You got to have a heart. You can't go after Ozza. See what's going on here? See, from a house narrative perspective, Ozza, Big D, Xavier, and Kylan can't really be the target of SB. It just wouldn't come off right. I mean, the Jokers have the least amount of people next to Aces, but the Jokers don't have no DX among them. And let's keep it real, Hannah's been throwing a lot of competitions. If Hannah is a massive threat to SB, DX is even more of a massive threat because he's the one capable of taking out Kylan, which in SB's mind is her shield. Woo, this game is getting good. I told y'all the Infinity War was coming. I just was unsure if it would come if Christian didn't make jury. You know what? Maybe this timeline is good. You feel me? Now, but because she's staying, he has options, and I mean Claire. So he didn't have to listen to Kai or Xavier. Claire also provides an option for DX to betray Hannah and Tiffany before Final Four, and Claire seems very jealous of Hannah being closer to Tiffany and DX than she is. So Hannah fans will look stupid, too, for begging Claire to stay if she betrays Hannah. If I was Claire and DX, I'd take out Hannah every time over Tiffany, because Tiffany can't win anything. But Hannah has thrown everything. So Hannah, you really got to look at your own game here. I personally believe Xavier and Kylan would keep you around a lot longer than DX and Claire honestly would. I honestly believe that. Now, maybe I'm a little far-fetched there, but I believe that little sister complex is like, it's like holding something over them in a way, where it's like, I can't do that to my little sister, right? But when it's DX and Claire, man, listen, they've been in the Hunger Games. Well, not Claire. Let's keep it real. She's been pampered all season. But DX has been in the Hunger Games. You feel it? Dig me? Like DX is no fool, bruh. And he probably knows Hannah's the only person smart enough to keep him and Claire from Final 2. So that's another reason why Hannah won't make Final 3 with no Claire and DX. You know what I mean? Now, the worst thing about this edit is that it vilified the Cookout for their dominance, but any other season, the white dominant alliance has never made out to be villains, only baby faces. JC said the N-word, and that got covered up by Level 6. Because Level 6 was so loved. Paul Beta-Hamian wore blackface to disrespect Dominique during BB19. That wasn't vilified in the edit either. This man chalked it off as, I'm looking like a snake. What? No, you didn't. You know what you were doing. The edit literally was save these non-black folks until Brittany got evicted. DX and Claire are made out to be the saviors of this season somehow, now because Tiff and Hannah rebranded themselves on the fly to leave them hanging. Claire don't even get TV time unless she goes against what Tiffany wants. So now do you see why Claire needed to go this week? I told y'all, production likes her more than Brittany. I just think Brittany was the one for the TikTok videos and stuff, because she was coming up with all the songs and the raps and stuff. So it's easier for kids to like Brittany. But I think production preferred Claire every time because that's DX's ride or die. Come on now. The edit reinforced my conspiracy theory about the timing of these comps. And see, on feeds, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of people assumed this comp would be slip and slide. So I was nervous because I know a lot about slip and slide. Slip and slide is a comp that's pretty much DX's wheelhouse, him or Xavier. So it would have been an Infinity War with DX and Xavier duking it out, and whoever would have lost that comp basically would have been the one to get targeted by the other, in my opinion. So I'm happy that this was a new comp. I've never really seen no comp like this. Now, you can argue it was similar to the comp at the beginning of BB22 when Cody saw the little boing, boing, the little platform, little things, and he just stepped on them, you know, and of course, you know, Cody benefited from the fact that he was able to see the things still moving to know which ones to step on and stuff like that. But with that said, though, Cody still played a fantastic game. No hate. Brittany gets evicted 7-1 tonight. Claire and DX didn't get their way. Brittany tells Julie she planned to save money for roulette this week, and she feels most betrayed by Claire and Tiffany. Interesting. That tells me DX has Brittany's vote over everybody in that alliance. Now do you see why DX fought so hard to keep her around? Xavier's goodbye message was so smooth. We already said that. We ain't got to go back. But I will say, is there anything else I want to talk about from the HOH comp before we get into the live feeds notes? You know what? I want to give Big D some credit. I thought Big D did a fantastic job tonight in the HOH competition. I thought he did a fantastic job. I did not expect him to do that well. He literally almost beat Claire's time. He almost beat it. And when you take into account his size and the fact that he's a grown man who probably has bigger feet and probably has worse balance because he lifts heavier weights, I was impressed by what he did tonight. So I want to give Big D some credit. You know what I'm saying? Now, let's get into feeds, y'all. Now, the feeds notes that I have are strictly from last night leading into a little bit of this morning, all right? But when I explain this, I just want it to be set in stone. And then after I break this down, of course, I will be answering y'all questions. I want to hear y'all feedback on SB as HOH. I have a feeling the brothers are celebrating right now, turning up. I have a feeling some of the sisters are a bit salty about this outcome. Hey, that's understandable. That's understandable, Coach. But let's be real here. If DX was HOH, I think all the black men can all agree we would have been in your position, being like, oh, no, we're finna lose the best player in the game this week. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, you know, beggars can't be choosers. And I far prefer this outcome than any other outcome. And at the end of the day, if DX does not go for the roulette believing SB won't target him, ladies and gentlemen, then that still allows someone in the cookout like Big D to win the roulette. So just in case she were to throw up maybe a Big D and a Hannah, at least Big D could take himself off the block. You know what I'm saying? And maybe he would do something to kind of throw a wrench in SB's plans a little bit. So that's me throwing out some hope as well. I don't just want to be on one side of the strategy here. I want to be fair with my analysis. Now, around 1 a.m., let's get into it, y'all. Kylan Talks game. This is Thursday night, 1 a.m. Kylan Talks game with SB. Big D is becoming paranoid that he might not survive the vote because of Tiffany and Hannah. Rightfully so, because they were, listen, Hannah went up to Ozza and she was like, well, from a game narrative standpoint, Tiffany can't really afford to vote the same way you vote, Ozza, because you all are supposed to be on the wrong page and she's supposed to hate Big D. So Tiffany has a reason to vote for Brittany. Ozza and Big D was talking to each other like, nah, they doing too much scheming, man. Because even Xavier said, who cares if the 6 gets revealed? We need to save each other. See, this is the glue I'm talking about with X. He's like, who cares? We need to save each other. We need to keep each other in this game. The fact that Tiffany and Hannah even thought of getting rid of Big D. Skip what the edit says. They thought about it a few times. They thought about it, all right? Period, end of story. But I'm mentioning all this to say that this is what further pushed Big D and Ozza to work with Xavier. It was the way Hannah tried to justify Tiffany not promising Big D she would vote to keep him. And mind you, this was before the fight even happened with Big D. And that's why Big D needed the one-on-one with Tiffany to get the promise of the vote, but then it spiraled out into something else. So follow me here. I got to provide that backstory for y'all. That way it doesn't seem bizarre what I'm finna explain here. It's going to be bizarre, but it's not going to be confusing because I gave the backstory. Big D is becoming paranoid that he might not survive the vote because of Tiffany and Hannah. Kylan wants SB to go to Big D and use her experience on the block from a week ago as an icebreaker to get him to calm himself down. Kylan is very concerned about Ozza targeting him as well. He thinks Ozza may be that 5th vote to keep Brittany that could truly ruin this alliance. But as long as Ozza doesn't vote to keep Brittany, nobody else can afford to keep Brittany either. So really, Ozza is now forced to vote Brittany out just to make sure Tiffany and Hannah don't pull any funny stuff. Now, I believe Ozza voted for Brittany to stay as the sole vote because it was 7-1. So that's me correcting that. But it also shows that Claire and DX don't stand on nothing. You know what I'm saying? They're. Let's be real. Look. If y'all really wanted to make a statement, y'all could have still threw Brittany a vote. Y'all could have still threw it 2 votes. But I get it. It's solid gameplay to not expose yourself in that fashion. I'm not asking people to play bad so my FaZe can beat them like some of the sisters have been begging for Xavier to play bad so Tiffany can win the game. I'm not that type of person. I'd be a hypocrite if I was. But let's continue, ladies and gentlemen. SB tells Kylan that all these late night chats he is having and several one-on-ones aren't appreciated by the house. She also points out that Tiffany, Claire, and DX specifically have made jokes about people being held captive in Kylan's HOH. SB recommends Kai doesn't spend too much time in the HOH with anyone for the rest of the week because they are sketched out. Kylan needs to read between the lines and realize Claire, DX, and Tiffany are bashing him the most during his HOH week after he saved Claire for them. That's why I think SB is going to go for these 3. Now, I think Kylan, I think if Kylan is smart, he says, SB, throw up Claire and Tiffany. Because that's what Xavier would have done. But see, if Xavier would have did it, all the Tiffany fans, see, this is why we hate Xavier. Now Xavier didn't do it. You feel what I'm saying? So, hey, we're not giving them more reason to hate on the black man. Keep hating on SB, coach. You know what I'm saying? It's cool. So yes, if SB is noticing this, it tells me she targets those 3 over any members of the cookout next week. Now, I might be wrong. She might go after Hannah, you know what I'm saying? But for the most part, it seems like she went out of her way to basically tell Kylan, hey, man, these people, they sneak dissing your ass downstairs. And you don't even know it. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's up with that? As Kylan goes to talk to Claire, Big D is looking for Tiffany to have his final one-on-one. Uh-oh, here we go. Frazier only wanted 2 minutes of Tiffany's time. So deposit into your mind. Frazier just wanted to talk for 2 minutes, y'all. This thing turned into damn near 2 episodes of Seinfeld. Let's keep it a bean, coach. All right? This thing lasted dang near an hour. All right? But he only wanted 2 minutes. All right? See, once you ask for that one-on-one with Tiffany, she got to let you have the Costco package. She can't just let you have the 1 stick of deodorant. You got to buy the whole box from Costco. You know what I'm talking about here. Huh? You showed up to spend $5 maximum. Costco got you spending about 20. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. Now, Frazier only wanted 2 minutes of Tiffany's time, but this will end up turning into something else. Big D says he is a benefit to her game, and she asks how. So Tiffany is already being passive-aggressive and argumentative. She then says, why haven't they talked game yet? Tiffany talks to everybody. It's on her if they don't talk enough. But Tiffany isn't making Brittany promise her a final 3 deal for her vote, further showing how off-code Tiffany is here and how she can't let grudges go. This type of behavior will get her sent home if she hits the block. Now, not this week, but I think if they get to final six and Tiffany's on that block, I think everybody just straight up takes her out because they are growing tired of her mouth. I'm just going to keep it a bean here. Tiffany is the backseat driver, okay? Tiffany is that dude on the basketball team that get no minutes, but during practice, he swear he the best. She's that person. Tiffany is that dude in the weight room that sits on the machine and don't lift nothing, just stay in his phone all day. But then they post on Twitter, just hit the gym. That's Tiffany right now. I got to clown her a little bit because I need her fans to see. A lot of the stuff y'all say she is, really Xavier is. You know what I mean? Let's keep it real. All right, let's get it cracking. Tiffany starts everything off by saying she doesn't know if Big D will cut her at Final 6, Final 5, or Final 4. As if Tiffany has offered Big D a Final 2 deal or something. She also says if Big D keeps repeating himself, but that's because she is gaslighting him by interrupting his campaign talking points. She then asks, who would you vote me out? She then asks Big D if he would vote her out over Claire. Big D says no. Then she purposefully asks him in front of Xavier in the bathroom if he would vote her out over X. Just to make these black men fight. Divide and conquer tactics. Anti-black tactics. If a black man were to try to get two black women to fight like this, they'd say he had self-hate. So why isn't this being said about Tiffany? See, I'm just asking these questions. I'm not saying she has it. I'm just saying if that's the rhetoric people run with because it's easy to bash the black man, oh, well, then that's the rhetoric then for the black woman too. My argument, we need to go ahead and dead those narratives because those narratives are not conducive to a sustainable Big Brother black fan base. It's not sustainable. It creates toxicity in the atmosphere, okay? But it's important for me to show people, because see, it's important to show people in their lowest moment after SB1HOH their wrongs. Because then, if we get in the lowest moment, if Xavier's put on the block, hopefully they'll then know where we came from. But if we don't show them how they were last week by celebrating this SB win now, they'll never realize how we felt about them last week. Celebrating Claire coming off the block as if they won the damn Super Bowl or something. We still in Final 10. Y'all celebrating Claire staying like Tiffany just won $750,000 off that move. Like what? But anyway, Big D wisely doesn't answer this question and focuses on the 6 making Final 6. Very smart, Big D. Don't take the bait, especially in front of Xavier. He has a Final 3 deal with Xavier anyway. It makes no sense for him to say any of that in front of them both. But once again, what does it say about Tiffany? That she is trying so hard to create fractures between these brothers before Final 6. It says she has fear in her heart. It says she doesn't have the self-confidence that she can outplay these people when the time comes. Now let's continue. Xavier even asks why he is being brought into this conversation. This should show Xavier that Tiffany can't be trusted because she should have brought up DX and Hannah before Xavier if she truly planned to make Final 6 with the 6. The fact that she only brought up Claire shows she is still protecting DX more than any black man on this season. Oh, y'all not hearing me? Then Tiffany gets an attitude because Big D was too smart to fall for it. So she says, I thought we were talking game. We don't got to talk game then. But you can talk game without interrogating people, Tiffany. Tiffany don't have none of this energy for DX, and he would cut her for Claire in an instant. DX can actually win comps too. So her grilling Big D like this further shows how emotional she is playing. Xavier then leaves the bathroom. Big D mentions how Frenchie wanted him and Tiffany to work together as he left the game, and she agreed. She claims this isn't about feelings, but it is. Feelings are why she has been flipping on the cookout all week. Feelings are why she can't just stay on code and promise Big D her vote. Feelings is why she is having this debate on a Wednesday night because she wants to bait Big D into giving her a reason to flip on cookout. Oh, y'all not hearing me? This is by far some of the most selfish gameplay I've ever seen on feeds. The same woman who created the argument that Britney is too much of a threat is now considering keeping her over a black man. But they allow Tiffany to get away with this. Tiffany is trying to strong-arm Big D here for information because she knows her jury management with him has been horrible. Pay attention. Big D lies to her by saying he is down to make final three with her, but at this point he is just saying anything to avoid a fight. Now keep in mind, this is before the fight happened. Big D did everything he could to defuse the situation. Tiffany wasn't having it. She was not having it, you know? Then Tiffany finally gets down to what she is truly butthurt about. It's Big D and Ozza coming in the HOH to back up Brittany, which kept Tiffany from flipping the vote to take out SB. So her hate for Big D is now connected to her bigger hate of SB. She sees Big D and Kylan are close, so she probably also thinks SB would have a deal with Big D. Frazier then brings up how the way Tiffany spoke to Ozza during that conversation didn't sit right with him, because Tiffany says they can't get on the same page. Tiffany denies saying this, but she has said this several times in the house. So she wants accountability and honesty from Derek F., but she isn't giving anything back. Tiffany plays semantics gymnastics by saying she said, "We don't talk game because we don't agree on stuff." That's literally the same thing as saying we aren't on the same page. Like, all you had to do was say, "You're right, I said that." But with Tiffany, she got to have the last word. She got to be always right. And it feels like production told her that Big D called her a B word, because the way she went off last night was as if she is watching the episodes. I'm just saying. Alyssa comes in the bathroom, so Big D and Tiffany agree to move to another room to continue their chat. Because Xavier is in the have-not, they go to the storage room. This is where Tiffany completely lost the plot and her composure. The storage room conversation was much more direct. Big D tells Tiffany she could have compromised the six by saying those things about her and Ozza in front of Brittany. Big D made a great point here, but once again, Tiffany thinks she can do no wrong. Let's not forget, her anger towards Brittany last week is the same anger Kylan should have towards her. But Kylan can't afford to be angry because he'll be hated for holding Tiffany accountable. This is a one-way street based off gender bias. Tiffany is allowed to be off code with impunity, and because she has a built-in excuse for her buck dancing, it's chalked off as good gameplay. But this conversation with Big D is terrible gameplay from her. She forgave Brittany in a week, but can't forgive Big D for the same exact beef. If a black man played this way, people would say he has self-hate, but because this isn't a man doing it, they enable it. It's almost as if Tiffany doesn't care about jury management with black people because they are coerced to vote for her if she makes the end. Therefore, she only cares about treating the non-black players with respect because those are the votes that are up in the air. Peep game. Oh, I'm going to have to repeat that statement because for the people in the back. Because, see, I feel like Hulk Hogan. You know what I'm saying? I feel like sometimes Tiffany, I'm selectively deaf. Oh, he said facts about Tiffany being bad at the game? Oh, I didn't hear that yet. Let me repeat this one more time for y'all in the back. I know, y'all got a lot of earwax. Let's clear that out. It's almost as if Tiffany doesn't care about jury management with the black people because they are coerced to vote for her if she makes the end. Therefore, she only cares about treating the non-black players with respect because those are the votes that are up in the air. And Tiffany knows she burned bridges with jokers. That's 2 votes. And she also knows, she knows she burned bridges emphatically with those 2. So in her mind, she has to replace those 2 votes with 2 non-black players' votes. That's what it's all about. She's not going to get SB's vote. So that's why she's caping so hard for DX and Claire. She wants those votes to replace Ozza and Big D's votes, believing if she's next to another black player, Ozza and Big D vote for that person over her. See, it's all selfish. But she's trying to convince Big D he's selfish. This is proof she and Hannah are exploiting the 6 while not helping the 6 enough. Tiffany then asks him why in the bathroom did Big D say he wants to work with her, but then later he admits that moment put them in on 2 different pages. Now, this is a good question from Tiffany. I got to admit, she put Big D in a compromised position here. But the same way Tiffany is now all of a sudden pro-Brittany, Big D could also be all of a sudden pro-Tiffany. At the end of the day, she wants to believe Big D is holding a grudge to send him to jury. She is gaslighting to justify her betrayal. Big D says he thought because they were cut from the same cloth, and this episode and this rant is entitled Cut from a Different Cloth, so it's going to play a role in a second. Big D says he thought they were cut from the same cloth, so they would talk to each other after they'd all cool down. Then Tiffany goes out of her way to say they aren't cut from the same cloth. You're right, Tiffany. You aren't cut from the same cloth. Big D is actually on code more than you'll ever be. Exposed. You feel it, dig me? I never would have thought Big D would be on more code than Tiffany. I never would have thought this day would come. But Ozza and Big D have impressed me a lot. In my Patreon rant last night, the patrons know Ozza in that top 5 right now. No cap. She in that top 5 right now. Asa sees what needs to be done. And what just happened to her girl Brittany, oh, y'all just listen, it's like Rock Lee letting go of the ankle weights. Asa finna become the Mazza on y'all. I'm telling y'all, I can sense it. And she looked good tonight, didn't she? Asa, you looked radiant tonight, coach. You looked radiant. Then Tiffany says if she would have stormed in on them the same way, she would have admitted to the wrongdoing, but this is a huge lie because she is choosing 2 non-black people over the Black Alliance and hasn't admitted to it. How can Tiffany use Big D and Asa supporting Brittany as an excuse to dislike them while also being the inventor of Operation Save Claire? This woman spent her BB bucks to save a non-black player, y'all. She can't say nothing to Big D about him doing too much. She is doing the most. She then says her cloth makes her handle stuff at that time, but that isn't true either. She choked an HOH thrown to her. She sure didn't handle that at that time. Tiffany says she doesn't know how the way she treats Brittany affects Big D. The same way Claire going up this week turned Tiffany into Gloria Allred. Oh, y'all ain't hearing me? Y'all ain't hearing me. Oh, yeah, I got one-liners tonight. Y'all in trouble. She is easily one of the most narcissistic hypocrites I've seen in this game. Tiffany claims what they did that day had nothing to do with the game, but it did. Asa and Big D didn't want Brittany to be cornered by another duo to do their bidding. Christian and Alyssa during week 5 was cornering Brittany a lot to keep Christian, so they didn't want a flip to go down. So when Big D and Asa realized that Christian went to go get Brittany so she could go up to talk to Claire and Tiffany, they assumed, oh, they're about... Christian is working with Claire and Tiffany to corner Brittany again. They wanted to back her up because in their minds it could have been 3 versus 1. They were trying to even the odds and make it 3v3. But once again, if you talk logic to Tiffany, all she talk is how she felt. But if Big D tries to elocute his talking points, and I'm aware of the fact that he lied a few times during this conversation, we're going to bring up some of the lies he mentioned. But my point is, she interrupts this guy. She doesn't respect this guy. You know, man. And yes, Big D does deserve some of this treatment because he shouldn't call a black woman a B word on national TV. I can meet y'all halfway there. But with that said, Tiffany also shouldn't be shouting at a black man when his game is on the line in 24 hours. Now, let me ask y'all this question. If Tiffany was on the block and then Big D and Asa chose that moment to start a fight with her over some stuff that happened weeks ago, would people justify that? They would say she's petty. So Tiffany's petty here. End of story. This is logical, but logic is never acknowledged by emotions. Big D then brings up a great point. Tiffany's plan was about controlling their person. Asa and Big D going in the HOH was them attempting to control Brittany, their person, which they share. Now all of a sudden Tiffany is acting like Brittany was never Big D's person, but last week she even said out of her mouth Big D and Asa each share a person. Further proving Tiffany is moving the goalpost to justify her anti-black rhetoric right now. If Tiffany didn't tap dance like Bojangles this week for Claire the Amazonian, I wouldn't mind her having this energy for Big D. But it's the way she crafts the narrative where only she can play for herself that I don't like. Big D was right. She thinks she's the boss, but she ain't because her game is very reliant on a man carrying her to the end. She's playing a pick-me game. Let's keep it a bean. This is supposed to be the cookout, not Tiffany's turkey leg hut. Can we keep it a bean right now, coach? Can we keep it a bean? Oh yeah, I'm in my prime right now, coach. Oh yeah, the rant god's in the building. This is the cookout. This is not Tiffany's turkey leg hut. But for whatever reason, we got people acting like, oh, the other 5 should just let Tiffany win. It's the turkey leg hut. This ain't Tiffany's turkey leg hut, and this ain't Hannah's hibachi. You feel it, dig me? This is the cookout. And the cookout is a united front. Where one goes, we all go. Tiffany and Hannah forgot that along the way. The way fans justify Tiffany outright gooning doesn't sit well with me because they quick to bash the black man. If you're not about the 6 because you burned too many bridges within the 6, that's your fault. Tiffany wants to blame everyone else for her past mistakes. And this is why some black women are hating on Xavier. Because he didn't burn these bridges Claire, Hannah, and Kylan have with jokers. Because of this, I'm seeing people root against Xavier just because he's playing a superior game than Tiffany and Hannah. Tiffany and Hannah fans are off code to match their faves being off code. Tiffany then says, what if her and Hannah ran up in a room where Big D was talking to Claire? But Hannah and Tiffany weren't on the same team as Claire, so that isn't the same thing. Once again, she'd rather project what she does on others and make them feel guilty for her own rhetoric. When Big D brings up the BS Tiffany did during week one, now all of a sudden, Tiffany, the woman who could bring up any memory when you did something wrong, all of a sudden, I can't remember what happened. I don't even remember you. I didn't know you during week one. This is what I'm saying. Anytime you bring up something she did wrong, all of a sudden, selective amnesia. She claims she didn't know him then and doesn't remember, but she sure remembers everything else these black people do out of her control, further showing she has selective amnesia like her fans. Then Tiffany starts just shouting when Big D hasn't raised his voice at all. Felt like she did this to make DX Clear and Hannah happy because they want Brittany to stay. And those three definitely ran to the door to eavesdrop because Tiffany couldn't keep her emotions in check. Why go to the storage room at all if you're just going to shout? It defeats the purpose of the privacy. That tells me Tiffany wanted this to make it on TV. She's a drama queen. You know what I mean? Like, yo, this is supposed to be a cookout conversation. You know what I mean? But she letting the whole house in on it, but just getting louder and louder. Do you need a speaker, coach? Do you need a microphone? Like, come on, yo. Like, this was goofy to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, if roles were reversed, Tiffany would not be shouting here. And she's only shouting because Big D is on the block and she has leverage. This is proof why she needs to be humble very soon, and SB winning this HOH was definitely speaking this into existence in the notes. And it also is proof she is a front runner. Has she even had one fight with any non-black player? No. She's exclusively had beef with only black people. Bow. And she uses these beefs for jury management with the non-black people. Bow. She's exposed. I figured it out. See, this rant is key because this rant is going to expose Tiffany's entire agenda. She bashes black people to the non-black people to get their jury vote. And she ain't even got Brittany's jury vote right now. So did it work out for you the first time? You got to peep game on what she's doing. She thinks she's this mastermind, but really the mask is falling off. She treats non-black people the best in the house. She hasn't went off on Brent, Whitney, or Frenchie like this. She won't even give SB that smoke because she's scared of the clapback. She plays a bully's game, but deep down, even her fans know she isn't good enough to win out on her own. Tiffany is what RPG gamers call a glass cannon. Very powerful if you allow her to attack, but very vulnerable and weak if you attack back. Tiffany, you're a glass cannon. You're a glass cannon. Tiffany then says, we're different. Big D tried to keep the conversation civilized, and she says she is fuming. Tiffany got her way this week, and she's still this mad. This is proof she is mad just to be mad. Then Big D apologizes, and she points at him, saying, don't apologize unless you mean it. What apology did Tiffany ever give Ozzy that she meant, though? I rest my case. Exposed. Bang. This is the pot calling the kettle black and being angry when the kettle points out they the same color. Big D lied about Christian one and all of jokers in the HOH. Tiffany continues to refuse to allow this brother to apologize. Big D is focused on actions. From his vantage point, Tiffany's actions have never been to help him or Ozzy in the game. This week is proof of it because she chose Claire over the 6. This is why I want Ozzy or Big D to win the next HOH, because then they would learn who really was behind Claire coming off to get out Brittany, and then Tiffany has some explaining to do. She is on this soapbox right now preaching to Big D, but fans know she is the least loyal to the 6. Big D has every right to not trust her, and her guilt is perpetuating the tension in the storage room. Big D just doesn't have the real facts to back up how he feels about her yet. But all it takes is the right HOH not named Hannah, Tiffany, DX, or Claire, and Tiffany's game could easily be exposed. And I think SB being HOH, ooh, this could be the week. And see, now we get to see if Tiffany is as good as advertised. Because she's been on cruise control. Because everyone that's won HOH been a guy she could manipulate, well, except Xavier. But everybody's won HOH has been a guy she controls. So this is going to be the test. This is going to be the real test for her and Hannah. Tiffany somehow expects Big D to come to her before Ozzy and Brittany, but she doesn't come to Big D before Claire and Hannah. So once again, she is demanding the type of loyalty she isn't even showing. She's becoming Frenchie 2.0, but it's even worse because she's turning on black people while doing it. Ozzy had to come in the storage room and tell them to quiet down, but of course Tiffany stayed getting louder because once again, she wants these non-black players to like her for being anti-black man. Okay? See, my point, I'm driving it home to y'all. When Ozzy come in the storage room, guys, quiet down. People can hear you. Tiffany, yeah, like I was saying, she go off again. So she wanted to be heard. What Tiffany doesn't get is this conversation could have been 5 minutes long and whispered. This talk did not make Big D want to take her to Final 3 or Final 4. She purposely got louder to make a scene, and she also tried to cause a fracture between X and Big D, but it didn't work. She may need to go first among the six now because she's becoming intolerable. Big D told Tiffany if it was just her up there, nobody follows Brittany. But Claire being there gave off red flags. That's a great point there, Big D. And she couldn't really refute it. But she got defensive by saying, "Did you think I was going to jump her or something?" It's funny how nobody else can assume bad intentions from her, yet all she does is assume Big D and Ozza wanted to jump her just the same. And yeah, Tiffany was trying to mind warp Brittany to keep Christian, because Tiffany wanted Christian to go after Kai so DX could handle Xavier. Let's not forget the facts here. Tiffany is mad at Big D because he ruined her chance of weaponizing another non-black player in Christian against the black men. SB isn't after any black men. That's the reason for Tiffany's anger towards Big D, and it's why she wants SB gone. Oh man, this is why I'm the best at this. Because I can just show y'all everything, bruh. I got the chakra points. It's like I unlocked the Byakugan. I'm just, Byakugan! You feel it, dig me? 8 trigrams, 64 palms. And right now, I'm taking all of Tiffany's chakra points and sending them to the Shadow Realm. This is why people are hating on X. Because he has non-black people willing to never target him. So the feminists want X and Kai to sacrifice the non-black players that don't come for them, so the non-black players after black men can help Tiffany outlast them. These are the facts, but it takes someone like me to break it down to brass tacks. Big D ends the conversation saying, it could be good that people assume they don't like each other, and he apologizes again before leaving the storage room. Tiffany says don't take her loyalty for granted, but she isn't loyal to this man and hasn't been all game. Tiffany says they are all here for something bigger than them, but her and Hannah aren't anymore. And when the truth gets revealed to other cookout members, Tiffany gonna have a lot of bitter people mad at her. She already messed up because X is now aligned with Big D and Ozza. Everything rides on this HOH. Big D and Tiffany would wrap the cake in the kitchen with foil before dispersing. Big D talks to Ozza in the back bedroom alone and says when they get to Final 6, he's taking Tiffany out. The son of Joe Frazier wants all the smoke, as he should, coach. Like father, like son. Brittany walks in thirsty as hell to figure out what just happened, because she trying to run that back to Tiffany to get Tiffany to keep her over Big D. We know what you was on, Brittany. And Big D wisely shut his mouth when she walked in and just said all the vague talking points. You know what I mean? Big D is super codified right now. Tiffany then talks to Claire, talking about she got stuff off her chest. Claire says she appreciates her and loves her. Tiffany is literally proud of herself for screaming at a black man at 2 a.m. when she's 42 years old. What? You know what I'm saying? And she is being encouraged to keep doing it by a white woman. But black women act like this is pro-black strategy. What is going on? Make it make sense, y'all. Seriously. Am I in the Twilight Zone? Like, for real, dog. Did Davon winning at AFP just warp everyone's mind on what strategy is? Good strategy is. Because Tiffany really sold from a strategic standpoint in that conversation with Big D. She showed everyone she's capable of being the angry black woman stereotype. You know, the same stereotype she hated Big D framing her as, but then she voluntarily becomes it to shit on him when he's on the block. SB speaks to Tiffany and Claire later on and says the only person she thinks Big D goes home over is Hannah. So pay attention to that, y'all. It's a possibility Hannah and Big D could be the initial noms this week with a DX backdoor. It's very possible. And here's the thing. That's actually ingenious. Because I think if DX sees Hannah and Big D on the block, he doesn't go for that roulette believing Hannah stays over Big D. No one sends Hannah home. And that falls right into what SB wants, what Xavier wants, what Alyssa wants, and now probably what Kylan wants. Now, SB may have made a mistake, though, saying this to Tiff and Claire, but now that she's HOH, it wasn't a mistake because they can't do nothing with this information anyway. Now, Kylan speaks to Hannah in the HOH room. Hannah admits Brittany made great points, but Hannah is worried Brittany will become the next BB16 Victoria that gets dragged to the end. Hannah is also worried Brittany knows too much about Christian's backdoor plan, which could compromise DX, Tiffany, Hannah, and Kylan with Xavier and Alyssa. Because keep in mind, Xavier and Alyssa was blindsided by what happened to Christian. They're under the impression Brittany didn't know about it. So Hannah, so let's keep it real here. So they aren't taking Brittany out because they are on code. It's because they fear her becoming the new Frasier that gets taken the final two over them. Pay attention. Kylan then tells Hannah that DX has been lying to him about Brittany knowing about the plan to backdoor Christian, which should also tell Kylan that DX wanted Brittany around to target him. Hannah, you messed up. You accidentally snitched on DX to Kylan and told him um, that Brittany was part of DX's plan to backdoor Christian. Kylan was under the impression only he and Hannah and Tiffany were part of that plan. Now that he knows that y'all included someone like Brittany in on that plan, number one, it shows him, oh, DX really doesn't trust me that much. I think this is going to make Kylan more open to SB backdooring him. Call me crazy, but I think Hannah may have sealed DX's fate herself. I love this game. I love it. I love it. Hannah brings up the fight between Tiffany and Big D. She mentions how Claire and Brittany grabbed her and DX to eavesdrop. How at one point Big D said, I'm putting you above myself. Hannah thinks DX and Claire don't know what's up, but they do already. Hannah and Tiffany are so dumb to act dumb about Claire and DX knowing what's up. Hannah says it makes it harder now to navigate the path to Final Six, but whose fault is that, Hannah? Tiffany raised her voice. She made it harder to navigate herself. But Tiffany takes no blame. Both Kylan and Hannah agree they don't know what Tiffany would do as HOH. They say she is super intense. Do you see the narrative that's being painted on Tiffany? Even Hannah's painting her in the angry black woman light. After they both just buck danced their way to keeping Claire together, now Hannah's like, anyone but me? Yeah, Tiffany, she's a little problematic, ain't she, Kylan? Yeah, DX, he kind of a snake, ain't he, Kylan? See what Hannah's doing? Hannah out for herself. See, Tiffany, you are really underestimating the people around you, yo. Hannah, in my opinion, has you played. DX has you played. Claire has you played. But you burned too many bridges with Ozzy and Big D. So you feel like you gotta work with these three. But now you have 5 people in the final 10 that won't take you to the end. I'm rhyming on accident. Brittany, take notes. And I don't need sunglasses either. But I'm just saying, let's keep it a bean. I'm bringing up a lot of good points here tonight. Hannah is mad that Xavier won't budge on wanting DX gone next week. She says he wants to have his cake and eat it too by making Alyssa the last pawn taken out, with DX going next week. Seeing how Hannah and Tiffany have just been gluttonous with their cake all week, this is more hypocrisy. Xavier should be looking out for himself, because that's the only reason his game remains to be the best in the 6. Hannah says it's selfish for Xavier to want DX out even though she knows DX is after him. No, what's really selfish is acting like Alyssa and SB are bigger threats to win the game than DX and Claire. What's really selfish is holding Xavier to a standard you don't hold yourself to. X has already sacrificed Christian for the 6. Hannah hasn't sacrificed a thing. Tiffany hasn't sacrificed a thing. But it looks like with this SBHOH they're gonna have to. This is why Xavier, Ozzy, and Big D are aligning, because they feel on the bottom by losing their +1s first. But do they get any of the benefit of the doubt for this? For taking one for the team? Nope. Because like I said, people don't want 4 of the 6 of the cookout winning this game. Is it Tiffany's turkey leg hut or Hannah's hibachi to these fans? Because anything else they don't care about. It literally is Tiffany's turkey leg hut or Hannah's hibachi. Otherwise, we ain't going to a restaurant. We don't need to eat. We're fasting. If Hannah and Tiffany don't have the confidence to beat Alyssa and SB, how the hell do they have the confidence to beat 6', 7' Claire and Zhao Khan? Y'all scared of SB and Alyssa, but you're trying to convince your fans you feel like you can beat DX and Claire in Final 4? Hannah, Tiffany, what are you doing? If you only got the confidence to handle these 2 ladies, y'all definitely ain't handling Jonine Ninja, S-Class Ninja DX over here. You feel me? Come on. Like, I need them to use their thinking caps here. You know, their arguments for needing DX to stick around makes no sense to anyone with a logical mind. Hannah and Tiffany need to win HOH if they want SB and Alyssa gone, because they don't mind forcing Xavier to be the only one in the 6 that targets DX. Imagine telling another black man another week in a row to not follow the plan and then call them selfish for it when you are the one that's selfish. That's this alliance. Kylan then admits to Hannah he doesn't think he can protect the 6 from DX. Maybe only Xavier can. This told me Kylan is going to get SB to get out DX. Because he was under the impression only Xavier had the tools to do it. But Kylan has to see this is almost even better than Xavier's HOH, because if it's Xavier's HOH, I think DX absolutely uses his money on that roulette. With SB as HOH, there is some benefit of the doubt there. And DX believes he has Kylan fooled, and he isn't aware that Hannah accidentally dry snitched on him to Kylan. So understand here, there's a lot of different forces at play that could seal DX's fate this week. Kylan then admits to Hannah. Oh, I already said that. So this is Kylan trying to convince Hannah when they have the shot, they can't afford to miss. But Hannah never will give the okay for DX to be targeted, so it's best to do what you want and just live with the consequences. Big D tells Kylan what happened with Tiffany. He mentions how he was always under the impression once the six reaches final six, it's every man and woman for themselves. That's what it should have been. That's what it should have been. You know? I think it would have been fantastic to just see those six last in the game, have their moment. Now, right now, rumors are suggesting there's going to be a triple eviction with 7 people left, 6 people left, and 5 people left. So we won't even get that moment, y'all. I know it's sad, but it's a rumor. It might not be true, but right now, all signs point to there's going to be some type of a triple eviction. So we won't even get that moment necessarily. But a lot of fans are butthurt that Xavier could be handed the game because of that triple. And I don't see why Xavier is being bashed for a decision CBS made. Like he has no control over these things. But once again, it is what it is. He then tells Kylan, my fault. He mentions how he was under the impression when the six reaches final six, it's every man and woman for themselves. Big D is exuding more self-confidence than Tiffany and Hannah right now. He then tells Kylan about how she talked deals in front of Xavier, but when Alyssa showed up, then Tiffany wanted to relocate. But she was in no rush when Xavier was there because she wants these black men after each other. Once again, these brothers are on code. Too on code to fall for this. And I like the fact that they're sharing this information with each other. This is why Tiffany ran to non-black people. Her tactics don't work on anyone that identifies as black. Tiffany and Hannah are part of the reason DX and Claire figured out the Black Alliance faster. She told them Kai and Xavier had a final two. Don't forget. She told them Kai had a final two with Frazier as well. She also mentioned how the white men are gone to put a spotlight on the black men for DX to target with her permission. We even saw that during tonight's episode. But do Tiffany fans mention any of this? Nope. They act like you were on a witch hunt just for holding her accountable. Big D mentions to Kylan that the last time he tried talking to Tiffany, she said he was painting her to be the angry black woman, but in the storage room she became the angry black woman to please non-black players. What in the sweet brown Wilkins is going on with Tiffany? She is literally stereotyping herself to please people who are targeting black men, and she gets applauded for it. Ain't nobody got time for that. But if Tiffany doesn't like being painted as an angry black woman by Big D, why did she paint Azza in that light all season? See the hypocrisy? That's a checkmate. Oh, man. Kylan tells Big D the plan is to take out DX if he doesn't spend his money. But if he goes for roulette, he is okay with letting SB go. Well, now SB's safe. So that means the next, and SB won't go after Alyssa. So in my opinion, if DX goes for roulette, I think we could lose a black player this week. But that's why Hannah and Tiffany, y'all got to choose yourselves over DX now. Y'all got to tell DX, she's not going for you, DX. You're safe. Man, save up for that secret HOH. The Shadow Realm awaits. That's what Tiffany and Hannah need to do this week. It's time to play. It's time to play. It's you or him. Because I tell you this, if Claire's on the block next to Tiffany, I think DX pulls Claire off before Tiffany. And wouldn't that be the biggest slap in the face to Tiffany? To save Claire a week ago, just for DX to save Claire over her. Maybe that's what the cookout needs, for Tiffany to get a reality check and realize the people that she thinks got her back so much really has her on the bottom of their 4. I mean, I think Hannah's really on the bottom of that 4 technically, but I think Claire is closer to DX than Tiffany will ever be because the jury is made up of too many black people, you know? Big D says Tiffany was trying to get loud because she knew people would hear it. He also was mad that fans will think she put him in his place, when in all reality, he couldn't afford to match her energy while on the block. Big D won't forget this. making me wish him or Ozza was HOH. But because this HOH is most likely endurance, Big D doesn't have a chance. Now, I thought this was going to be slip and slide, so please take this with a grain of salt, this part of the note. Isn't it convenient? Oh, nah, I ain't even going to get into that because it wasn't endurance. Man, let's get into answering y'all questions now because the rest of that didn't really matter. That was based off strictly conjecture. I try to stick to the facts when I can. You know what I mean? But tonight I had to go ahead and let it hang because, oh man, the karma is something to behold. You know, so many people were doing so much tap dancing for Claire. You know, and now you're going to see the same people for the sake of keeping Tiffany and Hannah in the game. They're going to have to turn on Claire 1 week removed from agreeing with Operation Save Claire. They're going to have to turn on DX 1 week removed from Operation Save Claire. You know, and that's the thing, coach. That's the thing. This is why you shouldn't have wanted Claire to come off that block a week ago. This is why you shouldn't have wanted it. Because in my opinion, SB would have been more likely to go for Brittany than she would have been likely to go for Claire. In my opinion. You know, I think SB absolutely is super threatened by Hannah. I think SB is super threatened by Tiffany. I think SB, and that's because she even pinpointed the fact that Tiffany has been in the ear of every HOH this season. So Tiffany, I got to say it. If DX chooses to use the roulette and you can't convince him to take you off over Claire, it's going to expose you're not that good as people think you are at the game. That's what it's going to expose. You know? So, but yeah, so let's get into answering y'all questions, Coach. I'm on my way to the Batcave. Let's get it cracking. I hope y'all have enjoyed the majority of this rant. I came through just swinging with the freestyle. Then I brought it down a little bit with the notes. And I know y'all questions going to be high octane as well. But at the end of the day, man, I'm here to entertain, but I'm also here to tell y'all what it is. Please do not forget to like this video. And, of course, comment underneath it and share it with all the fans of Big Brother 23 that you rock with. Oh, by the way, shout outs to the super chat from CN, Coach. I'm so sorry I didn't acknowledge it. Hold up, Coach. Hey, I'm a bad host. You know what I mean? I should have acknowledged that thing. I ain't even noticed it. I was in the zone. Auto zone. You know what I mean? I was in the zone. Oh, B Grizz going ham? Go ahead, B Grizz. Go to work, Coach. Hey, man. Hey, listen, man. Hey, we saw a lot of sisters celebrating this past week as if somehow Tiffany and Hannah won the game. So black men have every right to celebrate this SB victory the same way. We got to let them see how they made us feel. Like we were worthless to them. Now, maybe in the future, they will stop all that stuff. And maybe in the future, they won't keep taking us for granted. Because like I pointed out in last night's rant, the black man is 75% more likely to be targeted before the black woman, and that includes every season from BB22 to BB2. The black man is 75% more likely to be targeted. So when you see people creating narratives that Tiffany and Hannah are carrying stuff, when they had a 75% advantage on day one to perform better than Xavier, then there is no excuse for why Xavier is running circles around them. There's no excuse. And that's facts. Shout outs to Lee Parks for the super chat. I appreciate you, Coach. I appreciate you more than you know. You know? I'm keeping it a bean tonight. Shout outs to Chuck. He in the building. Hey, shout outs to Ping Black Girl. Hey, I rocks with you, Ping Black Girl. Hey, you got your Infinity Stone tonight. She been doing work on social media. And she's a big Ozza fan. Some of us celebrate. Hey, that's why I said some black women. I'm very careful to say some. Because I know a lot of sisters who really is on code, they on Ozza's side. They ain't on Tiffany and Hannah's no more. They've seen enough. They've seen enough. And let's be real. A lot of y'all sisters have been around women like Hannah and Tiffany who are like part-timers with their codified language. So y'all can read it a lot quicker than we can, the same way men can tell when a dude ain't on code quicker than women can. We can just sense it. It's like ESP kind of. So I'm always going to listen and heed the advice of women about women first and foremost, but I don't allow that to completely skew my perspective on the game. And I think that's fair. You know what I mean? He said, Dave, mic drop. Hey, man, I'm going ham. I'm going ham. And honestly, listen, if Asa wins this game in Final 2 next to Big D, I ain't even going to hate. Because when it was time to pivot to make the move for her game, she recognized it immediately and took it. She didn't wait. She didn't play pick me like Tiffany and Hannah. Pick me, take me. No. Asa was like, you got a Final 2 with X? Fit me in that Final 3. You feel it, dig me? You feel it, dig me? Let's keep it real. It's not even playing it safe, Nanye, because it's true. It's not all black women, okay? Because there is black women who rock with Xavier. There are black women. But see, here's the thing. I don't blame a black woman for not liking Big D or Kai, because both of them have messed up. But when I see some shitting on X, that's uncalled for. Because now it's showing me it wasn't ever about David Alexander being bad at the game during 22. It was about the fact that he didn't do everything Davon wanted. Because now people are nitpicking on what Xavier is doing when his game is better than Tiffany's. So that proves to me it was never about the gameplay. It's about whether the woman can manipulate the man to do her bidding or not. If she can't get that way with him, now the man is canceled. That's the narrative. And it's important for me as a black content creator, black male content creator, a straight black male content creator, to expound on this. That way, in future seasons, people know they'll get called out for trying this. Because this is toxic to me. Oh, I'm definitely grilling tonight. You know what I mean? Oh, I'm in my avatar state. You know what I'm saying? Shout outs to Aang. Shout outs to Sokka. Shout outs to Katara. You know what I mean? Let's talk about it tonight. But for real though, y'all got questions? Let's get down to the brass tacks. I want to hear y'all thoughts. Legend of the East says, if you watch Dave at all in the past, you know exactly how much he oh yeah. Oh, y'all know I support sisters. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? That's without question. Come on, man. I was the one who broke down Tamar's game, fooled production. I broke that down. When other content creators was trying to act like Tom Green was a mastermind, I kept the people's eyes on the ball. Tamar's the mastermind. Period. End of story. And I thought Tiffany would play Tamar's game. And yes, you can make the argument, well, Tamar did get dragged to Final 2 by Ricky. However, Tamar stayed loyal to her black alliance to the very last second, never wavered, and she fooled production into thinking she was working with non-black folks when she never was. Tiffany, on the other hand, she ain't fooling production at all. Nah. There's a lot more emotions coming from her than that. You know, so at the end of the day, I want people to understand, I don't have no agenda against her. I just understand that the type of rhetoric her and Hannah was exuding on them feeds could have led to a cookout member being sent to the Shadow Realm, more specifically a black man. And if a black man were to get taken out by DX, that is one less person who can take DX out, which means they hand DX and clear the game. At the end of the day, I want the 6 to make the 6. And that should be first priority. We will never get this opportunity ever again. Ever again. Like when I see kids in high school and they get accepted to college, I tell them, you'll never have an experience like that ever again. Do not waste the opportunity, but have fun. Stay in your books, the whole 9. But it's going to be the best experience of your life. Go balls deep into it, and you'll love it. You know what I mean? That's how I feel about this 6-person alliance. We're never going to have this moment ever again to do this. So we got to do it. And keep it real, CBS needs us to do it, to rebrand them too. So we scratch their backs, they scratch ours. I just ask the edit, don't make it seem like we villains for being pro-black though. That's all I'm asking. Shout outs to Woozy with another super chat. Shout outs to you, coach. I'm late, but Ozza shall be the first to go from the cookout. I don't think so, Woozy. I don't think so. I don't know if you've been watching the feeds. I think Ozza's good right now, yo. I think she's good. You know? She has pivoted with the prowess effectively. I think Ozza's here for the long haul. I don't see anyone taking her out anytime soon. Unless it's Alyssa. That's really the only person I can see going after an Ozza. I think Ozza's good this week. Because Ozza was the person who always promised SB her vote. Never forget that. When everybody else was considering keeping Christian, Ozza was the one, Christian never getting my vote. And at the time, I may have been a little frustrated with Ozza for not being willing to pivot. But now, man, look, I can't knock the results. She's sitting good by being a straight-up player. While Tiffany comes off a little like she's always trying to fool you into something. She's always trying to run game on you, which I can't knock you for. You're playing Big Brother. But my point is, who are people more likely to trust down the stretch? Ozza to keep her word or Tiffany? They're going to trust Ozza. Wait. Coach, the chat is hot tonight. C Queen says, please address the I'll fall on the sword for Tiff mess. Well, wait. Someone said in the chat they would fall on their sword for Tiff, or they want the black men to fall on their sword for Tiff. Man, what we got to understand is, Because I have covered several seasons of Big Brother, including Big Brother Canada, I can assure you all that this is a systemic issue. Okay? I want black women to understand that the feminist movement, and I'm not trying to go political here, I'm just keeping it real. It was always meant to mislead y'all to turn on black men. BLM, same thing, anti patriarchal. So at the end of the day, the powers that be don't want us on code together. It's always wise to stay on code together. And rooting for the six to make the six is not us being anti Tiffany or Hannah, it's us being pro six. No questions asked. If that just so happens to put Xavier in the best position to win, he deserves to win because he was the glue keeping them to the six. I think that's fair. You know, I feel like I created such a logical argument tonight. Like, this isn't emotion. I've laughed tonight. I've cracked great jokes. I've had one-liners. I even came up with Hannah Sabachi. You really dig me? So it is what it is. Big D says, B Grizzly says, Dave, with as fine as Tiffany is, why can't she keep a man? I don't want to go. I don't want to go there. We ain't gonna turn it into just a bash her personally thing. I'm not gonna go there with that. See, I'm not gonna go there. Jared Sanchez says, who will be the noms this week? Will DX get backdoored? I think the likely noms will be a variation of Claire and Tiffany, or Hannah and Big D, or Claire and Hannah. Actually, I think it's going to be Claire and Hannah. Because I think Kylan will talk her out of throwing a Big D another week in a row. For SB's game, she should believe she can beat Big D in Final 2. Why would she want to make an enemy out of him? If Big D volunteered to be a pawn to help Kylan make an easier decision, SB should feel like Big D is more on their side than the other four side. And with the game being split the way it is, I just can't see SB not throwing up Claire and Hannah to backdoor DX. It's possible she could throw up Tiffany and Hannah. But I think because Kai took that shot at Claire, took it back, SB has to know that Claire is after Kai because she has game reason to be after him. So I think SB will, and I think also SB believes she can beat Tiffany in any comp. Why would she make an enemy out of Tiffany this early when she should want to make it further with Tiffany than Hannah or Claire? Yeah, if I had to guess, Hannah and Claire's initial noms, backdoor DX is the master plan. Yeah, Gabby, balls deep, coach. You feel it, dig me? Afrie Asamoah says, people keep on saying that X is simping so hard for Alyssa, but he told all the cookout to take out Alyssa because he fears Alyssa's threat to the cookout. That's facts. People are really only mad that Xavier created the narrative that DX must go next and Alyssa should go last out of the plus ones. This is what ticks off the women amongst Cookout because they believe if Alyssa somehow pulls off a final 7 HOH, she ain't going for Xavier. She probably doesn't go for Kylan at that point. She probably doesn't go for Big D. So in their minds, Xavier is trying to set them up to get shitted on. But conversely, Hannah and Tiffany want to micromanage this to make DX the last pawn, which really makes no sense. Why would you save the biggest threat out of the six for last? That's just dumb gameplay. You know, so it is what it is. Never again, because next season going to be real different. You right, Lee. That's why we got to take it now, yo. We got to take it now. You feel what I'm saying, man? Like, listen. In my opinion, the Phoenix Suns, that was their only chance to win a championship this past season right here. They blew it. They won the first 2 games of the finals, blew it. You know what I mean? Y'all ain't getting back no time soon. Chris Paul damn near an AARP, damn near an AARP member. Y'all not getting back there no time soon. Y'all gonna have to wait till Devin Booker's in his prime, Ayton is in his prime. You get my point here? You gotta take your moments when you have them. Because if you fail to take advantage of the moment, you might not ever get back there because you don't have the confidence you can make it back because you lost when you got to the mountaintop. You know? Charles Barkley never made it to the finals again after that one time. You know what I'm saying? And I bet it haunts him to this day. You feel what I'm saying? So I had to give y'all one sports analogy. Come on. I wouldn't be myself if I didn't. You know? Legend of the East says, I have a question. What do you think the probability is that X and Kai are both in Final Four? Now that SB won this HOH, it increased by a lot. Because if SB gets DX out, I don't see anyone getting out Kai and X. meaning the 6 should make the 6, which is what we want. And that's what I mean, taking out them before the 6. Now, in terms of Final Four, I think in a Final 6 scenario, depending on who is the HOH, I think there's a scenario where Kylan gets whacked first. But I think there's also a scenario where people can convince themselves Kylan has poor jury management. He loses to anyone in the 6, besides maybe Big D. So there could be a scenario where Kylan gets dragged as much as Big D, and they might want to take out X first because he's playing too well. There's a lot of different scenarios there, But yes, I do believe the probability of X and Kai both making Final Four has increased by about 5% with SB winning this HOH. Not by a lot, because a lot can change, and we got this whole coup d'etat looming over us next week. But for now, I think they're sitting pretty good. Mr. Ty says, people are claiming this is one of the most boring seasons, yet it's bringing in bigger numbers than BB22 and 21. Facts. And BB22 was an all-star season. Also, BB22 aired during the fall and winter. Well, maybe it didn't air during the winter. Maybe it ended before the winter started. But my point is, it was airing during the time when most people are inside more. This season is airing during the summer when more people are outside. If this season has more ratings than an all-star season with ready-made assets and commodities heading into the house that we already knew about, that says a lot about how much this game needed to be freshened up. I want the Cookout to be the greatest alliance of all time. Already other BB podcasts are tearing them down, playing the game. Oh, well, that lets you know they're great then. You ain't great until you got haters. If everyone loved them, they wouldn't be great, would they? You feel it, dig me? Exactly, Aaron. Fans of the Cookout should be happy SB won that and not DX. Facts. See, Aaron, you're on code. You see what we see. And it's good to see. Good to have you here, Coach. I don't think I've seen you in the chat before, so it's good to have you here. Janelle said this season is boring too. Shoot, I saw Josh Martin on No Business. The meatball. I saw this guy rooting for DX or Claire to win HOH, and I'm like, still off code, huh? That ass whooping Adam Pike put on you, it didn't get your brain in the right format yet, did it? You know what I'm saying? He's still off code. But what do you expect for the guy who allowed Paul to do blackface to Dominique, but then acts like he's Dominique's friend? I don't know about y'all, but I'm throwing my game away if I see somebody put blackface on to embarrass a sister and I'm in the same house. Oh, no, we have a problem. And at the end of the day, during that season, wasn't no one black going to win anyway. And Josh, at that time, he didn't say he was Afro-Cuban. He said he was just Cuban at that time. Now he says he's Afro-Cuban because now he's trying to grift, but it is what it is. Oh, yeah, piping with a purpose, Coach. The pipeline to success. You know what I mean? Desiree says Tiffany is fake. Absolutely, she is fake. And I think because she has burned so many bridges, she knows her time is coming, man. She knows her time is coming. But the same way these men were basically coerced to do what these women wanted because they didn't want to be looked at as people who didn't consider the thoughts and the opinions of black women, now these sisters have to kind of get down with these brothers during demonstration because SBHOH, and they ain't got no control. All they can do is make sure somebody get roulette and affect half of the noms. But then after that, someone else replaces them and the game still has to be played. So, and this is another reason why Kylan burning that second veto last week was key. Rod said, Coach, they were saying you were bashing black women in the chat. The only black women I have ever held accountable, because I don't bash them, I hold them accountable. They take it as bashing because they're sensitive. But the only black women I've ever really gone after is Davon. I can't really think of another sister. Kaylin, I defended. Bailey, I defended. I don't even have to defend myself here. I know who I am. Let me leave that alone. Can't let people gaslight you into defending yourself when you know you're in the right. Skip all that. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, the Cookout are doing so well, it should be pretty easy to manipulate SB in the backdoor. It's not even a manipulation at this point. SB should want that on her resume. SB should want that on her resume. Who wouldn't want that on their resume, not named Claire, Hannah, or Tiffany? That on your resume makes you someone in Final Two no one can beat. Just don't talk about your Spurs, huh? You funny. B Grizzly and RBR, the MVPs of tonight's rant. You know what I'm saying? Hey, B Grizz, he definitely one of the patrons too. You feel it, Demi? I appreciate he got my back in these streets. We on the Double Dragon side of the game. Super Nintendo action. You feel it, dig me? You know what I mean? Davon was a bad player. She was a bad player, you know? And I think now that people see how good Tiffany plays, even if I hold her accountable, she's still a superior player to Davon by miles. But I think people are seeing now there's levels to this. There's levels. Oh, we got another super chat from Aaron Taylor. Shout outs to you. I came in late, might have missed your reaction. But what you think of that biased edit on tonight's show to make sure DX and Claire got 100 BB bucks? Oh, I mentioned that. How they made it seem like being non-black makes you the baby face of the edit. By the way, if you give a super chat, you're automatically made into an Infinity Stone holder mod. So welcome to the Infinity War. But yes, that was definitely designed to give DX and Claire 100 BB bucks. Absolutely, coach. Absolutely. You know, they ain't slick, and this is why I wanted Claire to go over Brittany. But at the end of the day, Brittany would have possibly had 200 bucks heading into this week. So, she probably would have had 200 bucks heading into the roulette, and she admitted tonight she would have played for the roulette. So at the end of the day, it worked out. Because Brittany would have been a number that would have just worked for Tiffany, Claire, and DX. So she's gone, which is great for the black men. Also, SB winning HOH compounds on that being the right move. So, hey, I ain't even tripping now. And by them keeping Claire, now they obviously look like a 4-person alliance that needs to be dealt with this week, which also doesn't allow them to lower their threat level in front of SB. You know what? This is a win-win scenario now. Because Tiffany refuses to not get her way week to week, because she has to always get her way, she ain't getting her way now. But ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this 24th rant of BB23 entitled Cut from a Different Cloth, ladies and gentlemen. I hope in this rant I did a fantastic job of showing you all that these brothers are on code and they're cut from a different cloth than Tiffany and Hannah have been cut from these past week. Now, with that said, the same way I prefaced a lot of my comments in the past by saying Azza and Big D were capable of rehabbing or retribution, I will also state Hannah and Tiffany are not beyond repair. They can still fix themselves. They can still hop back on code for the 6. This week, they don't have a choice. They got to get down with the demonstration. They got to convince DX not to compete for that roulette, and they got to let them go. I know they're not going to want to let them go. I know they're going to want to prioritize Claire being the target, but you're not going to convince SB to target a Claire before a DX. You're not going to be able to do it. You're not going to be able to do it. So ladies and gentlemen, if you could, please do not forget to like this video, comment underneath it, and share it with all the fans of Big Brother 23 that you rock with, Coach. I'm Dave Smith with Recency Bias Radio, where no one is safe from criticism. Until next time. The Stones, they have a mind of their own. If I snap, you'll disappear. Just like the oxygen from Tiffany's body when SB became HOH. The strategic karma is coming for you very soon.